This boy and girl are going to be well equipped when the time comes to take their places as worthy members of adult society.
Aloha, y'all. This is Daniel Eisenman, the host of the Breaking Normal podcast, where my guests are all invited based on the frequency of synchronicity, all done in person, and all trailblazers in the breaking of all things normal. All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Break Normal podcast. I have another handsome Jew sitting across from me. I keep hearing him and my producer talk about Israel. I've been there once. Craig Steinfeld, correct?
Good to be here. That's it.
All right. Well, the schedule of this podcast is synchronicity. So I'm going to aim to explain how we re-met about a year and a half ago at Boulder. What was it?
Boulder Startup Week?
Boulder Startup Week.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was at Boulder Startup Week, and Craig and I started hanging out. There was like probably 50 people there, and we're going to hike like to my house. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going on this hike back home. And so I ended up walking with Craig. And I was like, all right, well, let me grab your number, because we found that there was lots of common potential synergies. And I was like, wait a minute, I have your number. Like I started typing your number on my phone and it came up as Craig Snap Kitchen.
That was me.
And I was like, wait a minute. And then we both realized in that moment, potentially about a decade prior to that, I was with my brothers in Austin, Texas as the Rob-Raws, and we were hosting a meetup, and we hosted it at Snap Kitchen.
You did. Yeah, you did. I remember the jump ropes. That was what I remember, and thinking about, wow, these brothers are ripped, man. Like they just jump rope all day. So that was my reflection back on the Rob-Raws, but it was super cool. And just how we reconnected in that moment was remarkable.
I thought that was a pretty noteworthy synchronicity.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Like
for
that's,
sure.
If you believe in some sort of divine orchestration, that seems like we got to witness it playing out.
I think we did. I think divine orchestration, though, is like a good jumping off point, because that's ultimately what I believe in, right?
Okay.
Like I believe very much that we connected for a reason. There's no chance in the universe. You use the word synchronicity, which is a very like Jungian term that I'm keen on, like Carl Jung. That's a deep rabbit hole there. But no, just everything you're saying is for a reason, and maybe it's leading to something else. And as you know, I've listened to your podcast, you're into sort of like some quantum theory and other things like that. Like there's certainly some science that's coming up to speed on this stuff, but I view it as very real, and it's certainly played a huge role in my life and why we're talking today. No question. Yeah.
Doesn't that make it more fun too?
Oh, for sure.
To feel like we followed God's breadcrumbs to this moment to see what is ahead.
Very much so. Yeah.
And I think I heard Carl Jung's definition of synchronicity, which may be my favorite. It sounds, how I remember it is, synchronicity is God's way of keeping itself anonymous.
Wow. That's powerful. That's pretty cool.
I
haven't heard it phrased that way.
Like, what do you think synchronicity is? How would you?
I think it's where, gosh, and this is where I'm getting like metaphysical right out of the gate, but I feel like it's like your own version of consciousness meeting what may be viewed as the collective unconsciousness. So there's this convergence, right? And when your mind is centered in the right way, that convergence happens naturally. It's not forced. It's sort of like two rivers eventually meeting. That's really what it is. It's like this organic thing that the universe is happening when the conditions are there. And I think it's your job to tune the mind to the right conditions so that you can, again, flow down that river.
Yeah. Glow with the flow, grow and glow with the flow of life here. Synchronicity for me is it's basically my schedule, not only for this podcast, but for my life.
Amazing.
And I think it's a practice. Like for me, when I practice taking faithful actions based on synchronicity, I get to see more synchronicity.
Right.
And I think some people might not be as aware of it because they don't, I don't know. They don't make a big deal out of it. They don't celebrate it.
No.
As much as it can be celebrated.
Well, this is where, like, I believe we live in a hyper rational world, and everything needs a nice and neat explanation. And this is not something that has a nice and neat explanation. You mentioned sort of the young explanation of it. I kind of had my own perception. Both could be right, both could be wrong. But I think it's the ability to say, look, there's things I don't understand, and I'm okay with that. It's embracing the mystery of life. And I don't think that in 2025, we live in the conditions with which others can say, like, let's embrace this mystery. And they want a rational explanation for everything. Let's put it in this neat little box. Let's explain it. There's got to be some science behind it. And there probably is when you go layers deeper. But I also think there's an element where we live in this mysterious world and we've sort of hyper rationalized it to a point where everything has to be quantified. Everything has to be data driven. Let's measure everything we ever do. Let's wear a ring. Let's wear a watch. Let's do this. You're not embracing the mystery in those moments. You're not embracing the chance of synchronicity because you're trying to sort of manipulate nature. You're trying to say, let me make this awkward thing more square. Let me make it look neat and perfect, right? We don't embrace that sort of rough edge, the mystery. And I think that's why these types of concepts become difficult to even talk about in 2025.
Yeah, I believe they are a bit ineffable. Like we're touching the ineffable and it's beyond words. And I do believe awareness is the volume button to consciousness. Yeah. And we might have a thing that we resonate on that I was not aware of prior to this conversation, which is maybe being skeptical of like snapshots of data. You mentioned the Aura ring and like people needing all this data. Are you using any of these devices?
There was a time when I was heavy on the Aura ring, right? And I used it, and I feel like it did get me to a point where what it did for me is it created, to your point around awareness, once you can start to intuit what the ring is telling you, do you need the ring anymore? Like I can inherently now, after I've read the data over 4 years of ring data, I know now if I got a good night of sleep, right? It's more intuitive now because of the data, but I don't have to now overly rely on it for an indefinite period of time, right? Now, am I as dialed in as like a professional athlete where you want to make sure you're calibrating these things? No, but I'm not a professional athlete. But what I would also say the inverse of that is you can over rely on these things, right? And you can sort of constrain your mind to say, well, I didn't get a good night of sleep, therefore I can't do X. It's limiting. And I don't think you want to have a self-limiting belief based on the data your ring's telling you.
Yeah, I kind of see it as like outsourcing our inner intelligence to an outer technology.
100%.
And like what a slippery slope that could be, because how someone might get out of touch with their their intuition. And I've heard this about like Chat GPT, like the chat brain, like how and I'm doing that. I mean, there are certain things I'm outsourcing that are just so detail oriented that the AI can just put together so brilliantly and so quickly. However, when it comes to like, I've never had an Aura ring. I've never had any of those measuring devices, because it's probably similar to the same reason I haven't really gone to a normal doctor visit in like over a decade, because your projection is not my placebo. Like I would rather use God as my doctor, which speaks to me through my intuition. I'm not saying doctors are useless and there's never a time for it, but I do I'm a little concerned about our culture outsourcing all their inner intelligence to these technologies.
I completely agree. And I think too, you're seeing this with like the next generation. They're over relying on ChatGPT. They get into, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a high school teacher. They get in front of a test that's just literally, remember this blue book? I don't know, we're going to age ourselves, but like used to just get a book with a bunch of lines in it and you had to write an essay. Imagine doing that nowadays without any AI assistance and you're 16 years old. Some cannot do it. They physically cannot do it. It's something that's just so limiting. And if you've completely outsourced your brain to technology, which we're kind of touching on with the quantified self movement of rings and trackers and this, it has its place, no question. Even like getting your blood work has its place, but it also has its limitations. And to your point, it gets back to what we were talking about. There's a deeper intuition. There's something else there. And if you're not tapped into it, you're missing out on that inner world of life.
Yeah. And that's like the inner, that barometer there, I feel like is more in tune with the data that's always changing. And a lot of these data points people are getting are just snapshots, and then they can get caught up in this like snapshot of reality and forget that everything is always changing.
Yeah.
And they can be changed in the direction that our conscious wants it to be, potentially.
100% agree with that. Yeah. And that's like how the mind is everything. It shapes your reality. It shapes the world around us. And, again, we're getting into like deeply mystical traditions, which say the mind is everything, right? And the more you can harness that, you can literally reshape your own reality.
Wow. So now that we've opened up Pandora's box, how in the heavens did you get to Austin? Like literally, like where were you born?
Sure.
Like, were you born in Austin? How are you here in Denver?
Sure.
Can you just give me a little golden thread of
how
give you're in this seat?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was born in Houston, Texas. And growing up, I always felt out of place, honestly. And I was looking for somewhere that felt, all I can say is something more like home. And I went to UT Austin, so Longhorns, hook 'em.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved Austin. There's a freedom there to be who you are, and nobody cares. There's an entrepreneurial spirit. There's an outdoorsy culture, right? People are on the Greenbelt. They're hanging out at Barton Springs. They're going for a run around Town Lake. That when I got to Austin for college, I remember just being blown away by the city and by the contrast of growing up in like a very large concrete jungle, which has its pros and cons, no doubt. But for me, there was always something missing, right? And I think it gets back to some of the concepts we're even interweaving into this, which is like the disconnect from the natural world. And so for me to feel, gosh, happy is a loaded word. For me to feel content, I have to be surrounded, this is the strand of my life, by something natural, by the natural elements. And so waking up every day in Austin and the ability to go for a run, do a mountain bike ride, go walk the Greenbelt, that to me is a version of wealth, right? For me, because there's a certain freedom and joy and satisfaction I get from that. And if I get too detached from it, it's like something inside me is truly missing. There's like a void. And I knew that, right? And so I knew that even growing up as a kid. So as I got older, I discovered Austin. And I also grew up coming to Colorado a lot to ski.
Okay.
And so when my kids were getting older, my wife and I had this vision of, let's raise our kids in Colorado.
So they were born in Austin, your kids?
2 were born in Austin.
Okay.
And then 1 was born here. We moved while Jennifer, my wife, was pregnant.
Okay.
And then ended up having, funny enough, our 3rd son is Austin.
Okay.
Because we left and we're like, oh, let's name him after where we just kind of established our family. And ended up here, well, I should say Denver, but down the road. And look, for me, waking up every day and seeing the mountains, it gives me so much joy. And I know that sounds simple, but it never gets old. Me just waking up, I look west, I see Mount Blue Sky, I look a little bit east, I see Long's Peak. There's something very, for me, grounding about that. And it doesn't ever get old. Even driving my kids to school and I look in the distance and I see the horizon of mountains, like, oh, my day is complete. Like, it's very simple, right? And I know that sounds a little cliche, but for me, like that was calling me, right? It was the mountains are calling and I must go. Mm-hmm. Famous John Muir quote. I mean, that's a big reason why I'm here. And it doesn't get old. Like it's a constant companion.
Yeah, I can relate to that. And I think it sounds like we might go to the sauna right after this.
Let's do it.
Which is like kind of perched up on a little hill where you like see one of the best views of Boulder's mountains. And then we can go in the creek. And it's just like a grand adventure right out my back door.
Amazing.
About a mile from here. Ember Nice, shout out. They've been on the show. So your kids are 8, 6, and 4. And the 8 and 6-year-old were born in Austin. The 4-year-old was born here, Austin. Where was he born? In Denver, like a hospital?
Yeah,
or?
He was born in Denver in Rose Medical.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then how did Snap Kitchen, like where does your business life fit into all of this? Like, what happened with Snap Kitchen? Was that your business?
No, I was like one of the first salaried employees there.
Okay.
And just so your audience knows, this was like a health food, packaged food to go concept.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, this was sort of a hot trend. We had a big competitor. They've since made a recovery called MyFit Foods. So we were essentially trying to scale a similar model.
Okay.
And so this is how I got into this. All right. So I have a master's degree in public health. I studied at Southern Cal. So after
cool.
UT Austin, I actually graduated early and I fled to LA
To UCLA?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, to Los Angeles, and I went to University of Southern Cal.
Okay.
So USC.
Okay.
I got to be careful because there's a whole rivalry.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
Trojans. Is
Trojans,
that,
yeah,
the Trojan horses, or what is that?
Just the Trojans.
Just
yeah.
the Trojans.
Yeah.
Okay,
So think of like Sparta,
Okay,
Greece,
cool,
like
yeah.
that sort of Trojan.
the
Yeah.
300.
Exactly. Yeah. So I spent time there.
Apparently, a lot of the 300 people. Have you heard this? They were gay.
I did not know
A lot
that.
of the warriors were gay.
No.
And they almost, I think I don't know if they procured them that way, but they cultivated that, but they figured if they were fighting for their lovers, they would fight harder. I don't know if this is just like some rumor I've heard. Anyways,
could be true. I have
breaking
no idea.
normal side note.
I love it.
All
Yeah,
right,
it's
go
good fun fact there. I love it. No, but I think ultimately, like I had a little stint in public health. I was working on this big USDA grant in California. So I've always been passionate about the health space. And I was going into inner city LA. So I went to places like Compton, Inglewood, really inner city, like low income schools. And we would institute things like salad bars and teach them about different vegetables, really like simple stuff. We would institute basic physical conditioning programs. It was this comprehensive public health initiative that was very well funded. And when I quickly
by the USDA,
Yeah.
So you were on a grant by the USDA to do this mission.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I once applied for a USDA grant, and then it was about turning bison. This is actually quite synchronous to what's in that bag. It was about turning bison byproducts, such as bones, into something more valuable.
Wow.
And I think they had a lot of money, and I think I was the epitome of the candidate. And it got frozen with that whole Doge thing.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, that a lot got stuck in that
so
Doge
wait a
butt
minute. All right. So I know I'm distracting you, but that's really kind of synchronous as well. So you were on this USDA grant for public health initiative.
Public health initiative,
and
I quickly realized, wow, I will never really make a good living in this field, just honestly.
Okay.
And I realized, hey, I got to pivot somehow to the for-profit business world. And it's something I've always grown up around. My dad's an entrepreneur. My grandfather was an entrepreneur.
Oh, cool.
So I've had this kind of entrepreneurial DNA. And I even ran, as an aside, a vitamin company from my dorm room during college.
Wow.
Drop shipping.
Okay,
yeah, so I can relate
You're really going down some rabbit holes. I am so curious about your dad and grandfather.
Yeah.
Are they still here?
Yeah. So my grandfather passed away, but he started he helped franchise what's called Meineke Mufflers.
Meineke Mufflers, like
auto parts store.
Yeah.
It was an auto shop that scaled nationally, and he was the one that did it and then sold it in the 80s.
The actual Meineke.
Actual Meineke.
The one that's still here.
That's still around. That was my grandfather.
Wow.
Who scaled that company. Yeah, he was he was the franchise. The story goes, there was a guy named Meineke. He had one shop, drove a Harley Davidson. My grandfather pulls up. He was a New Yorker, comes into Texas or wherever he was, and is like, hey, I'm going to make you rich. I think his name was Sam Meineke. And next thing you know, they're scaling this muffler shop to like a national chain and sold it. Yeah, so that was my grandfather. Yeah.
When I used to have a car, I think I took it to Meineke at one point.
Yeah, it became kind of a name. And, you know, also a lot of the marketing campaigns, apparently my grandmother was the brains behind a lot of these initiatives, including at one point they had George Foreman as their spokesperson. I think this was like the 80s or 90s. I don't recall. But yeah, my grandmother, like behind the scenes, was this brilliant woman, like helping the business. But
as usual,
yeah, of course, right. Behind the scenes, there's like a brilliant woman there, right? But my dad more recently started a company called Blinds.com, which is an internet company that was really a pioneer in e-commerce because he was selling window coverings on the internet. I think it was like 1996. So he heard about this little company called Amazon selling books.
Okay.
And he's like, wait a second, if they're selling books, why can't I sell window coverings, which he had a retail store. But he's like, hey, this internet thing's going to be big. And he just sort of one step at a time bootstrapped it, grew it, and eventually sold it. This was sold it about 10 years ago. So it was cool. So it was cool to see this growing up because you have to remember, I'm a young kid. My dad's essentially the entrepreneur in the garage. Truly, it was a garage apartment that he's building this company out of, and then eventually got a small office space. Eventually closed a retail store and scaled a business. So it was really cool and also inspiring to watch your dad build something, right? And again, like that gets in your DNA of entrepreneurship and watching these things happen. So flash forward to this public health thing.
Can I do one more distraction?
Please,
tell me
distract
about the
away.
college vitamin company.
Yeah. So, oh gosh, I had this idea of like
At UT? Okay.
of like, hey, vitamins should be really easy, and you should just get a pack of what you need every day, right? And just, I don't want to buy 35 bottles. So I actually created this. It was called the Purity Source, puritysource.com.
Okay.
And I had a drop shipper. I forget the name of them, but it was a pharmaceutical grade vitamin provider. Like they were selling to MDs.
Okay.
And I created something called an earth pack, a fire pack, and I was selling them. So the fire pack was designed for more energy. The earth pack was more sort of general health and day to day. And it was truly like a comprehensive pack of vitamins. They're like 10, 12, designed for a specific use case.
Wow.
Whether it was energy or just general health. I think I had 4 different iterations of this. I made a little bit of money, but it never really took off. And there was a time when it's like, okay, do I pursue a career? Do I try to scale it? I did pursue the career at that point and sort of left that behind. But there's a piece that looks back and is like, what if I had, done X? Maybe it becomes the next whatever. But hey, look, life takes you a number of directions, right? Like, as we're saying now.
What years did you go to college?
I was at UT 04 to 08, and then at USC 8 to 10, 2008, 2010.
So we're very similar timelines. I think I graduated Emory from 2007, and I started a business at Emory called Help, or what is it called? Move Emory, or Help Move Emory. And it was a moving business.
Oh, sweet.
Because all of the, what happens at the end, and I still think this is a business opportunity, but what happens at the very end of the semester for the seniors, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars of furniture and TVs and other accessories that are basically trying to get sold for close to nothing, or anyone just to take them off their hands.
True.
So we would charge these people to move all their furniture. And a lot of times they were like, can you just put it in the trash? Mm-hmm. And we would sell it instead.
Nice. That's lucrative. Yeah.
Yeah. And I still think, like, if someone's out there listening to this and they're having money problems and you have a way of transporting things, you just go to a college town at the end of the semester and you can get thousands of dollars of things you can flip on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or whatever it is. Do you use Craigslist anymore? I use Craigslist
sometimes. Yeah. I use Facebook Marketplace more so.
That's a big thing now. I know a lot of people are doing business on that. All right. So now back to the business of the USDA grant.
Yeah. It was one of those things where it's like, look, you think it's going to be, you're young, you're idealistic, you're doing those things because you care. You realize very quickly when it's a grant funded program, they're giving you, I remember seeing this spreadsheet, and you had to do each of these little things and just check a box, literally. And I was thinking, like, I'm kind of an entrepreneurial creative person. And I'm just literally going down and just checking a list off. There's nothing creative here. There's nothing that I can do to shape. It's me just sort of following my marching orders. Mm-hmm. And I realize that when I'm doing this. And I'm like, hey, look, I need something where I can be more creative, where I can let myself, my vision in a way shine. And the business world to me allowed me to do that, especially joining an early stage company. Mm-hmm. So how did I get into Snap Kitchen? I had to hustle, because here I am, a guy who's pursuing public health. And it's like, how does that translate to the business world, right? I had a political science degree and a public health degree, master's. And so I had to just hustle and leverage the fact that I knew a lot about health and well-being to join a well-being based startup. So I was leveraging my domain knowledge to join a company that desired that domain knowledge.
And did you reach out to Snap Kitchen, or how?
I did, yeah. So a good friend of mine, he's also in the natural foods business. He started a company called Good Pop, which is a big popsicle company.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I know that.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty huge. It's everywhere.
Still the same name?
Still the same name. Okay, Good Pop.
Good
Yeah. Very good friend of mine.
Before. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably have. It's in like every Whole Foods under the sun, and it's an awesome company. And my very good friend that I've known forever runs it.
What's his name?
Daniel Getz. He'd be a really good one for your podcast.
I would love to get Daniel on the podcast.
Yeah, he'd be awesome. But it's like the connection sort of thing, and then he connected me to the founder of Snap Kitchen, also a great guy. He's in Austin, and kind of hit it off. And He took a chance on me. His name is Martin Burson, Berson.
Was Daniel in Austin as well, or
he was and is in Austin?
Okay,
yeah,
right, cool.
he's raising a family there. Funny enough, he went to CU for a year and played football.
Whoa!
Yeah, so you should have him on the podcast. Daniel
yeah.
Getz did, yeah. So he's a very great guy, yeah. But the point is, he helped make that introduction initially, and look, you still have to capitalize when you get these opportunities, and stayed there and started my business career within Snap Kitchen, which, I think, look, I'm very grateful for that, because it did help me get on the path that's of a quote unquote career. Yeah.
I mean, what career is that?
So and then I somehow got into operations, which led to, hey, I love hiring people and scaling businesses.
Okay.
So I started getting into tech recruiting, and then worked for my father for a few years at blinds.com to scale up the company.
Wow.
So I was the head of recruiting there. We doubled the headcount from, I think, 150 to 300. And then it got sold to the Home Depot. So I was there through that whole acquisition process. Wow. So it's like it's almost like, look, I didn't plan any of this. It's like one piece leading to another, back to our entry point of synchronicity and the confluence of all of these things. It's not, sure, I was ambitious and I have goals, but they're fluid. They flow with where's the next step that's going to give me potentially the biggest uplift, the biggest opportunities. It's going to help me grow, provide for my family, all those little details. Yeah. Yeah, it was.
So what is that now? Is there?
So now it's
and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this package.
Let's do it.
While I'll open them, because speaking of all these entrepreneurial endeavors, I invented that product, Femur Creamer.
Oh yeah,
about a year and a half ago.
It's awesome.
And you contributed to
I did.
Indiegogo?
Absolutely, I did.
Do you know you might be the only person that hasn't received their perks?
I do not know that.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, I'm the last holdout.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should be proud or what, but no, I'm the last of the last bastion of needing my bison creamer.
Yeah, and in the meantime, if you want to sprinkle in what is that?
So what is it
up now?
Yeah, look, so I work for a large corporation. I'm still in, leading a large technology recruiting team.
Okay.
But gets back to this entrepreneurial itch, right? And that's always this strand that links everything together. And that
I trust you can still hear.
Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. Yeah,
I wrap these pretty tight.
Yeah, no, I love that.
All right.
No, so for me, it's just one of those things where I have to constantly be learning and following a curiosity. So I'm constantly talking to founders, and that's why I enjoy talking to you, because it's like you have that spirit. So it gives me energy. Right?
So are you saying you're currently working on still tech recruiting, but you're open to the next big thing? Or?
I'm saying like I work with the founders on the side, and I do a lot of advisory work. And so I'm starting to continue to ramp that up, and we'll see where that leads. I can't say I know for certain where that will go. But look, there's a piece of you that you always want to drive, push yourself. You don't want to get complacent. There's this whole AI wave, and not to go down that rabbit hole because everyone does. But the point I'm making is like, I want to keep growing. You always want to keep evolving. You don't want to be complacent. You got one life to live. And so I'm always open to opportunities, right? But for me, it's the balance of ambition I've got 3 kids, and the interplay of those things can be interesting, right? And I always have to weigh the pros versus the cons, the risk and the reward. There's all these balances that you have to consider when you're the head of a household, or your kids are reliant upon you. Your family is. That changes everything. I know you have kids, but that changes the dynamic. Hey, I can't just like throw the flyer out there and throw caution into the wind. You have to think about it in a methodical way that's not betting the farm in your kind of existence. So that's the interplay I'm constantly sort of grappling with, is how do I push the limits of my career, my entrepreneurial spirit, while still being the provider. And those things can they're like pulling sometimes in opposite directions, and it creates a tension, almost an internal tension that I have to grapple with. And I can't say I do it that well all the time. There are times when you feel it like almost like gnawing. That's the way I would describe it.
You sound like a great dad.
I try to be,
based on everything you just said there.
That's nice. Well, ultimately, like that's what you want. Like those
are the bone broth chips.
All right. Oh, heck yeah.
So we're not even
excited
selling
about
those.
these.
We're not selling. We mill them into
Okay.
a crystalline powder
Okay.
called femur creamer, which we have been selling
Oh.
since.
So it's the same sort of root product.
Yeah,
except
but this
one,
would be
the
a food
form
product.
factor. Yeah.
So maybe you could help me if we want to make this a food product. But right now we're selling the powder as a dietary supplement.
Oh, cool.
And this is our newest dietary supplement. Holy mackerel, that might have the most potential on a business wise.
Nice.
We have enough, and we have enough supply of bison testicles. I bought 1,400, where we got 1,400 pounds. So that means we can make 6,000 of those bottles, and that stuff is powerful.
Impressive.
Like just a start.
Yeah.
This is our best selling product, flagship,
This one I've tried before.
the Bison Liver Plus
Classic.
Heart.
Yeah, this is a good one.
That's a great multivitamin.
Yeah. This is a good one.
That
Killer.
would probably be pretty well at the vitamin shop you were running at.
I know, right?
It's
I
the
don't think
tallow
we-
balm, the goat of tallows. Where's that tallow I left here? Yavel? Did you
Heck
take
yeah.
that?
In our office.
We need to leave it here for all the guests.
You want to take another thing that you give me as a gift?
Yeah. And then that's the femur creamer. So that's what the bone broth chips turn into as a product. So you
Beautiful.
can put that in your coffee every morning. Do you drink coffee?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, that goes great
Yeah.
in coffee. What kind
And
of
it
what's
blends?
your coffee?
I usually,
regiment?
yeah. So I'm big into coffee. I always grind my own beans.
You do.
I
Okay,
do,
great.
yeah, to order. Yeah. Sometimes I even hand grind it if I want to go ham.
Because like
Yeah.
less oxidation. You mean?
Yeah,
Well, I've
yeah.
used
And
those
there's some,
before.
just kind of get a little forearm workout too. It
Yeah.
kind of just
Especially
takes
when you're
me.
married, you got to rebuild that forearm.
That's right.
Rebuild it back to this college.
That's right. Yeah. So, but I'm always actually got the Dutch coffee maker, the Technivorm one or whatever it's called. So
I want
that
to know
I'm big
about
on.
this.
Yeah, it's just
Is
it's
it
a
like-
very well constructed brew machine. But I've got like
Like a slow drip, a classic
it's a slow drip. It's a classic slow drip,
What makes
but
it
it's
so special?
I think it's like the heating element they're using.
Okay.
And it's just a solid machine. It's made out of just like pure aluminum.
Okay.
It's not a lot of plastic. You look at like another brand, you go to Target, you get one, it's all plastic.
What about
This
the
thing is
pure
like
stainless
solid.
steel ones? Where
That's
about
even
those?
better.
Where are those? Which one's that?
I haven't even
brand?
seen those.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Some of them now, it's like they're going full glass because nobody wants plastic
Mhm.
with BPA and
Mhm.
all those other things,
All glass.
microplastics. Yeah.
All
so-
glass from the start there with Tribe Vitamins. I hear that
Yeah.
plastics are becoming. I've had a lot of podcast guests that have made the plastic thing more concerning to me.
And that's why we sauna, right?
Yeah.
Like the sauna, they say, is the best thing you can do for that. But as an aside, but no, I think, where was I going with this? I don't even know.
You were talking about the glass, the BB.
Yeah, we were talking about my coffee routine.
Oh, yeah, the
yeah.
coffee,
So for
yeah.
me, like it is sort of a ritualistic process, right? In the morning, I wake up, I look at the stars because I'm usually up super early.
What time?
Between 5 and 6.
Okay.
So I get
Similar
up.
here.
Yeah, I get up, I go outside, I do a little breathing exercise, I ground myself. Sometimes I even like write some poems, which is another thing I do.
Mhm.
Just sort of ground myself, similar to journaling. And then I sort of start my day, right? No phone, right? It's just quiet. And having a family and having 3 kids young, I need that quiet
Mhm.
to start my day. It's very grounding. It's the sacred space for me. And coffee is part of that.
Mhm.
So I go through all those steps and then I get into my coffee. I never drink coffee right away. I want to wait an hour because it's whatever the certain homocysteine levels in your body or whatever it is. You have to let it sort of work through. And I always drink water, get my vitamins in, and then I wait about an hour and then I make my coffee.
Okay.
And always make one for my wife too. So I have a little cup waiting for her.
Oh, nice.
You know, you gotta deliver there.
Are y'all making like lattes or straight black? Or what do you?
Most of the time straight black.
Okay.
Most of the time, if I'm really living, I'll put some like local raw honey in it.
Oh, cool.
So I'll get
shoot, I
like-
should have brought you some honey.
Yeah, I
love
get
that
the I
stuff.
am into the honey. So
Okay,
I get the
we'll have to get you
local
that. When I get-
Colorado
after
honey.
the sauna, maybe I can get you
Yeah.
a jar of what we're selling.
Sure,
too.
yeah.
It's Southern Colorado raw unfiltered.
Oh,
honey.
cool. Yeah, so sometimes I'll put some of that in. Occasionally I'll even put like the raw honeycomb in the coffee.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's the good
and
stuff.
you get the little bits in there and just get a little bit of beeswax and
Okay.
then you're really going to town.
Well, you could try it both ways. You can mix the powder like a heaping tablespoon, and it'll mix right into a hot beverage, and it'll
Sweet.
make it more of like a latte-ish, earthy,
Yeah.
thicker
Yeah.
coffee. And then the
Can't wait to try
chips,
it.
you can try the chips as well. You can just dip them in and they'll melt. But I would
Nice.
like you to experience. Maybe you could let your kids have a bite of those chips. See what
I will.
yeah, because that's still. I have a patent pending on that, so I'm kind of
Oh,
waiting
cool.
to see what happens.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, people are loving the femur creamer.
It's an outstanding. very innovative too.
Yeah,
Super
thank
cool.
you. Thank you. Well, I'm stoked. You finally got your Indiegogo.
I
perks.
know. It's long overdue. And like it gets back to like, hey, I got a family, I'm grinding, and I wish I had more time.
Coffee.
Yeah, you know, I'm grinding beans all day. So you gotta do what you gotta do.
Oh man, well that's all amazing. I you mentioned the poetry. I have some preloaded popcorn questions
Yeah.
because you sent me a little thing that I did
Yeah.
a little research on. And is there anything you want to make sure that we scratch the surface of today, or anything you?
No, I'm in your hands, Daniel.
Okay.
No, there's nothing I came here. I have no agenda other than just spending time with you and having a conversation.
I've got big, nice hands. I was a hand model for a casino once. What do you think? They're pretty big. My dad,
Very solid.
You know, the one guy that had bigger hand. How big is your hand compared to mine?
Pretty large.
Oh, your hand's large.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel!
We're right there.
That is almost
Yeah.
the same size.
Yeah, your thumb though is
But have you
that's
met
substantial.
people that have bigger
No,
hands than you?
No,
There
you're
was
the
a guy
first.
on the
You're the
podcast
first.
that had a much larger hand than me.
Huh.
Donnie Dust.
Okay.
And I here's a question. He's obsessed with rocks. He makes he actually makes stone tools to harvest bison with. He was on the show alone. But
Oh, cool.
he is dust.
Yeah.
Have you noticed this where people like when I think like Usain Bolt?
Yeah.
I'm like, so the fastest man alive's last name is Bolt? Is that really his last name?
It really is his last name. Yeah. I know. Isn't that amazing?
Have
Yeah.
you thought about this at all?
I think there is something to a name, right? It's like what you call something, what you put as part of it becomes part of its identity in a way, right? And I don't know how causal these things are, but again, it gets back to embracing the mystery. And can a name impact who someone is? I believe that could be the case. I'm not going to say definitively, but you know, my name's Craig, which Crag is like a Scottish rock, right? So I don't know what that means, but I know there's something there, right? And
have you been to Scotland?
I have not, but I've been to the UK, I've been to Ireland, I've been around London. That's about it. I've not been to Scotland specifically.
You sound pretty well traveled. Y'all were talking about Israel. Are you planning on?
Gonna go in June.
You're gonna go back.
Yeah.
In June. June what?
Yeah, June of the summer next year.
June
Yeah,
1st
with
is
my
my
wife,
birthday.
and she's learning the language and passionate about it, and yeah, so we're gonna go check it out. I actually was in the Maccabi Games in 2022. I played played tennis in the Maccabi Games, represented Team USA. So I got to play against athletes from Argentina, Israel, London. There was an Italian tennis player there. So it was like almost like a Jewish Olympics.
Singles?
I
or
played
doubles
singles
or both?
and doubles.
Wow.
Yeah. I did make it to the knockout round in singles, and I lost to a really talented Argentinian named Romeo. And we did a little jersey swap at the end, and super cool. It was my little version of the Olympics, and just
When was
awesome.
that?
This was June of 22. Yeah.
Are you still playing racket sports?
I'm still playing tennis, and
Tennis?
I know you're a pickleball guy.
My brothers have become avid. Like Team Ango in particular is getting really good at pickleball.
Nice.
And then I see the business opportunities in that, and padel. There's just a new padel thing here in Boulder.
Padel's huge now.
Do you play pickleball or padel? Or?
I do a little bit of padel.
Okay.
But mostly tennis is still my
Old
forte.
school.
Yeah, it's something about I grew up playing it. It's still what I'm best at. It's still I've got a group of guys I play with, and
Awesome.
we have a good time. So
Tennis is tough,
it is,
especially when you're playing at a high level.
Yeah, it's a technical game, and I think that's what I like about it. It's there's a certain skill and like work and discipline to get to reach any sort of competitive level.
Oh man, you're bringing in my tennis memories. I have a few. You brought a few memories up. One, the first time I went to Israel, and you mentioned your wife learning the language. I remember I just went straight to the bathroom, and these guys just started speaking Hebrew to me. I'm like, what? It was like the first time this ever happened in the country where the locals are just immediately assuming that I'm from there.
Yeah,
and that happened quite a bit.
That's great. Fit right in.
And then the tennis thing. I played high school tennis, but I was more serious about baseball. So I was just they put me in the district tournament, and my baseball coach would allow me to miss practice so I could compete in tennis every once in a while. But I remember when I used to grow up playing my dad, and then when I beat my dad once, that was a big deal. Did you play tennis with your dad?
I did, yeah.
Did you remember this?
I
Did you
do.
beat your dad once?
I did. It's always a memory, and it's funny because he was a baseball player growing up, but he was athletic.
Okay.
But by the time I was playing tennis, I think I was moving a lot better than he was, and so
Okay.
I had a bit of an advantage. But just moved the ball around.
Do you remember how old you were when that?
I was probably like 14.
I think I was like about 15 or 16.
Yeah.
And that just like life changed.
It
It was
is.
like your son. I think for my dad, he's like, wow, my son is better at me athletically now. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
and there was 3 more behind me.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're the oldest.
Yeah, 4. The
Oh.
youngest is a girl
Okay,
sister.
okay,
She's about to have her second baby.
Beautiful.
And the younger 2 brothers, the youngest brother especially is
Okay.
extremely competitive.
Good.
Do you have siblings?
I have a brother and a sister. Yeah.
Where are you at?
I'm in the middle. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a younger
So
brother, older
you
sister.
came from boy, girl, and now you're doing boy, girl, boy.
My oldest is so my I have an older sister and a younger brother.
Okay.
So the difference with me is I have a middle daughter
Okay,
and an
yeah,
oldest
the
son,
same
youngest. Yeah.
ratio.
Yeah. Same ratio for sure.
What are they doing? What's their lives like?
My brother, he's a really brilliant like musician, and he was managing bands for a while, and then he ended up working for Spotify as a product manager. So that's what he does now. Yeah. And my sister, she's a bit of an entrepreneur herself. Started a kids clothing company, and she runs that from her house and raises her kids. She's got 2 daughters and a son in Houston. So
what is the name of her company?
it's called Cute Heads.
Cute
Heads. Yeah. Yeah. So for a while she was building that business, and she was like hand making clothes and had a whole, So again, like come from a very entrepreneurial sort of family. And I think that's a strand you'd see throughout, my grandparents, now great grandparents, whatever. So we all have a little bit of hustle in us.
It sounds like it. That's cool. That's cool to see. It reminds me a lot of my family as well. There might be a Jewish thread in that as well. Are you ready for some of these questions?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Because
Hit
this
me with
might
them.
bring up your poetry. Just correct me if I'm wrong about any of this. But
Sure.
you titled your poetry book "Rebellion of Stone."
Correct.
All right.
That's right.
What's the moment you realized a stone could actually rebel? And
Ooh,
maybe
that's
that you
interesting.
could too.
Yeah. There was one moment where I was sitting in a park on a giant boulder, and I remember pondering the question that Carl Jung asked himself his whole life, which was, am I sitting on the stone, or is the stone sitting on me? And it's a question he had when he was 5 years old, and then when he was 85, and he couldn't answer the question. So again, it's about embracing the mystery. It's about a spiritual side that's internalized. And the stone is emblematic of, I think, the inner consciousness and the unknown. So this is about, my work tries to explore some of the intersection of inner spirituality, inner rebellion, hence the rebellion of stone. So it's also designed to connect it back to nature, which I've said is really a theme throughout pretty much everything that resonates with me.
Well, it connects it back to Donnie Dust too, synchronously enough. All right. Most people working in corporate America silence their poetry. What gave you permission to publish yours?
It's so hard because this is the most vulnerable thing I've ever done by far. And I think there became a certain point where it's like the inside wants out. And it's like something was pushing me to do this. And it wasn't about fame or accolade or, hey, I don't have any outcome in mind. All I know is that there's something pushing me down this path. That's the input. I have no idea what the output is. I have no idea if this goes anywhere. I have no idea if some people have read it, but I have no idea where it takes me. But what I do know is there's like an inner voice that's pushing me down the path. And it's like, I know if I don't answer it, I'm going to be 80 years old on the rocking chair being like, man, you really missed the boat. Because you had a chance to create. And again, it's a creative side. It like wants to come out. And if I repress it, where does that lead? I think those are the kinds of things that lead to illness. When you repress something, you internalize it. at a minimum, it leads to a certain undercurrent of stress and anxiety, perhaps. So for me, there's something inside that's pushing me. It's this voice that wants to speak. And I think if I silence it entirely, like there's a piece of me missing.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Oh,
or does that just like make no sense?
It made more than sense.
All right. Because I don't know what I'm saying. I'm like, does that make any sense? I have no idea. Yeah.
It reminded when you said the rocking chair at 80, it's like that might be the example when the stone is sitting on you.
Totally.
Oh man, that was nice to hear you navigate that. What's one poem that changed you while you were writing it? Not after it was finished, but mid-sentence.
Oh man, that's a really good question. I love that. There's one that I wrote that's this sort of Zen meditation called Slipstream that I almost feel like I was channeling something. That's the only way I can explain it. As if it was like this, look, I do love Zen and the whole philosophy of it, and I've studied it, and it comes through in, I think, when I write. And I feel like in this case, it was like this Zen reflection that then I reflected back to me. It was like looking in a mirror. It's very vulnerable for me too, but it also made me realize, it was kind of like, it's weird to say, but I almost impressed myself. It's like I read it afterwards. I'm like, what the hell? Like, how did you do that? Like, where did that come from?
Wow.
And it is like when you do any sort of art, there is an element of like you're channeling something. And you've heard probably great songwriters say this. It's like, like Bob Dylan says it. He's like, I don't know how I wrote those songs. These masterpieces, I have no idea. I was channeling something. There was something inside me. And they've asked him, he's like, I can't get back to that place. I can't. I can write music, but not like that. That was some kind of something. And for me, like, and I'm not Bob Dylan, right? Let's not be crazy here. Like, he's a legend, right? But there's still a voice that I think we have. And if we don't call to the voice or let that inner world come out, something's repressed. And I think that's difficult for me, right? I'm like 40 years old now. It's like you hit that point in life. It's like you want your authentic voice to come through.
How do people find your poetry?
Well, right now, and it'd be hard to find.
Okay.
I'm talking to some various publishers. There's one in particular called Rattle, which is a big poetry publication. Again, no one reads poetry, so it's okay. But I think they have 20,000 subscribers, and so I've submitted some of my works to a lot of different publications. Again, this is a newer thing for me, right? This is a new endeavor, but it's something I deeply enjoy, and I think it really has helped me grow. It's like through these exercises of writing, it helps me grow a lot in many ways. As a parent, as a human, as a writer, as a communicator, because you can't waste a word in a poem. Every word matters. Every space matters. So there's something about the intentionality of it. And even when I communicate in corporate America, you'd be amazed at how precise I can be with language because I read poems and write poems. You don't waste words.
I believe that.
And so there's a precision involved. And I really appreciate that about the brevity. It's like you can't waste anything.
I love that too. Inspiring me to think about writing some poetry.
Yeah, you should.
So if spectrum represents structure and poetry represents soul, what's the line where those two worlds actually meet?
In the Zen tradition, there's no difference, right? It's like when Buddha went to pondered and reached enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, he came back and just started living his normal life. Now he started getting some disciples and doing lectures and all that. But his whole message was like, find the miraculous nature in the most minute things, right? Draw the water from the well, make the tea, carry the stone, and be present when you're doing that. Is it any different if I'm in a corporate setting? Depends how you view it. If I'm present, if I'm intentional, if I'm human in those moments, the whole point is there's no difference, right? The spiritual life and the normal life shouldn't be separated. It's how do you actually see beyond those differences? And in the Zen tradition now, you're really living.
Love it. Wow. Thank you. In a world obsessed with metrics and margins, what's one metric you use to measure meaning?
What's the metric I use for meaning? You know what? Do my kids run up to me and hug me and say they love me?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Because it's when I get home and they're there to greet you, or even your dog,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing something right. You're building a human connection, and you're present for your kids, and they miss you and they want to see you and they love you, and you feel that. Do you need much more than that? You might. You need to live, you need to eat, no question. But when it comes down to the fundamentals, at the end of the day, if I see the mountains, if my kids love me, they run up and they say, Daddy, we love you. Where have you been? Hey, you're going to play tennis. Oh, we wish you were here for bedtime. That's the metric that matters the most.
Yeah, when you were talking about your morning ritual and you had your cup of coffee waiting for your wife, one of my favorite parts about waking up early before sunrise is waking up before my daughter, so that I get to see her wake up and she comes, good morning, my eyes are so bright. It gives me a how'd you sleep? That like greeting, that welcome to the day with my daughter, and being awake before she is one of my most meaningful metrics.
Love that. That's just it's so like parallel to what I was just saying.
Yeah.
It's like those simple things mean so much, right? And it's like if you're sick, everything becomes so fundamental. You just want to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're not sick, you start to get distracted by all the shiny things and this and that and legacy and these bigger questions. But it's those little minute things that I think you really find the magic. And I think sometimes we don't see the magic in those little moments.
Well, maybe with more of these conversations and poetry, we'll see it more often.
I hope so.
What's a corporate belief or cliche you had to unlearn in order to let your art breathe?
These are hard-hitting questions that are really making my gears turn, and I love it. Okay. I think it's that you need a structure and a process to do things. Because if you're in a business world, you do. You can't just go rogue and just say, well, this person's doing it that way, and I don't know how we train. But it gets back to art. Art is this, there's not really rules, right? You might use a canvas, you might use a rock. You might use a brush, you may not. You might use a typewriter. And so you might have rhyme, you might not. You might use a haiku form, you may not. It's truly formless. And if you think about a business world, formless just doesn't work because you're trying to orchestrate this large machine for a given outcome. But it's the inverse of creating art. It really is, because there's literally, like, it is the true blank canvas. There are no rules. Look at modern art. There are no rules. You can make them up. You make up your rules, and it's freeing. I'll tell you that. When you are in a process-driven world, and by the way, like, I enjoy the process stuff too, but there comes a time, like, there's limits to what that can do. And if you come back to an art form, it's just completely liberating. You can do whatever you want with it. You can do this, you can do that. There's no rules. No one can tell you what to do. It's your art form, especially if you're not trying to achieve any outcome. It's simply a reflection of who you are.
I like that theme. That's, not being attached to the outcome here in your life. What does rebellion look like when it's peaceful? What does peace look like when it's rebellious?
Yeah, I think when rebellion is peaceful, there's an inner world you're navigating. It's not about externalities. It's not about, let me go enact this sweeping change in the government. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But it gets back to by changing your inner world, how is that impacting the outer world? It's the classic Gandhi, if you want to change the world, start with yourself. And so this spiritual rebellion, it's an inner rebellion. So what's peaceful about it is it impacts no one but yourself. Now, is there a ripple effect? Yes. And that's what I believe. If you truly work on yourself, it has that natural ripple effect in how people approach you, how they react with you, how they respect you, that aura you kind of walk with, that's part of this. So that's the part one. The second part of your question was when it's not, so repeat this, the inverse of it.
What does peace look like when it's rebellious?
Breaking down barriers. I think we have like a lot of walls that are artificial in society. You're there, I'm here. You're with that group, I'm with this group. How do you have peace that way? It's like the barriers are all created with the mind. So I think the more we can, again, break down the barriers and just talk, that's a peaceful way to rebel. Like let's just talk, right? And you might hate so-and-so politician and I might love them, and we shouldn't be unable to speak. How will we ever have peace? Now we're literally not even talking. How are we going to certainly be peaceful? We're not. You're going to be in your hole and I'm going to be in mine, and we're going to just be pretending if each other doesn't exist. And I don't think that's healthy, by the way.
Breaking barriers. It's like another way of phrasing what we're doing with breaking normal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
If your poetry could whisper one line into the ear of your younger self, what would it say?
The price of security is insecurity.
That's good. That's a good one. That could be the title of this podcast.
Let's do it.
The price of security is insecurity. What do you think about that, Yovel?
That's good.
I
So that the young generation will listen to that.
like that. You lead with logic by day and language by night. Do you think creativity and capitalism can coexist?
100%. I do. And I think the best business leaders I've seen have a creative streak in them. They're trying to make something beautiful. And if you think of Steve Jobs as the, I guess, archetype of that, here's a guy who would look at the back of the computer and say, I know it's against the wall, but it still has to be beautiful. Beauty was embedded in the product, and it still is. It's still a common streak in how Apple's been successful. Why do you think people gravitate towards the devices so much? There's this aesthetic component to it that people have always gravitated towards. And again, that's the gold standard. But I believe there's a creativity, and I think the best business leaders embody that.
Amen. What's one truth you've written that scared you enough to know you had to share it?
Yeah. Oh, gosh, these are such deep questions, and it's like it's like I want to give the best answer. I think ultimately, though, it's there's a poem I wrote about grief and tennis and how those two things interplayed for me growing up. And I think for me, there's a line there where it's sort of about transformation. Think of the butterfly becoming the butterfly. And for me, I felt like I was embodying that through my work and through the practice of tennis, this metamorphosis from this high grief period to feeling more free again. So I think it's just the act of writing that, which I call fringe of ordinary. It enabled me to feel free. So I don't know if it's a specific line, but I think it's the channeling of grief through art that can in some ways be liberating. And for me, it certainly feels that way. It's also extremely vulnerable because you're putting something out there that makes you feel exposed and naked to the world. But with that comes growth and relief.
There's a lot of poetry you're speaking here. Wow, that might be an hour. Right at it. What's the most breaking normal thing you do that you think would help other people if they started doing it?
Gosh, I think we're talking about it now, to be honest. Like poetry, I call like the last bastion for the mystic. And for people who want to see beyond the day-to-day rationality, data-driven this and that. So I think the most strange thing I do is I read old poets, William Blake, Rilke, the sages of the ages. And I think that's lost. Everyone's looking for like the self-help du jour, right? The new this, and there's a place for that, no question. But go deeper. Read some old masters who have written and their work has stood the test of hundreds of years or 100 years. Because there's a reason why people still read Rumi, who was from like almost 1,000 years ago now, writing Sufi mystic poems. These things teach you deeper lessons. And for me, like I've grown so much just by going down this path. I feel like it's almost like a religious and spiritual practice for me. And so what I would say is I would hope people would go and read a poem today. And I think if they do that this would be a successful podcast.
Well, do you want to read us one?
Sure. I have one memorized. Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is called Slipstream. And I'll just read it without commentary or say it. Success and failure dance on the banks of a raging river, swept away by my own folly. The price of security is insecurity. Smoke rises, ash falls, no sermon. Sandals covered in earth, sweat falls from my brow. I exhale, forget the path.
Got a lot of good God bumps. Look at those things.
See, a good poem gives you chills, right? And I get the same feeling.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? It's not, and the problem is like school ruins it for people. Let's interpret this. Interpret nothing. What do you feel, right? Like that's what matters. Did a spark come off in you? Did something resonate inside you? That's what a good poem does. It's not, let me do some analysis on this. And you've lost the art. Art should make you feel something. Shouldn't be explaining it. You're getting too rational. It should destroy your rationality. That's a good work.
Did you say interpret nothing? And what'd you say after that?
You should feel something. It should resonate with you in your being. It shouldn't be, let me interpret this and write a paragraph about a 2-sentence poem. You can do that too, but I think you've lost the art form.
Wow. Well, look at that. I don't know if you can see it. My thing is too full. It's like this whole podcast was a bit like a poem.
And I love that.
Well, what if someone wants to get in touch with you? Do people follow you? Or
I'm off the grid under a hole. No, that's fine. You could email me if you want. But
and what about like any social media or anything?
Yeah, I'm on X, C.E. Steinfeld. So
C.E. Steinfeld.
Yeah, Charlie Echo Steinfeld on X, and that's probably the best way to reach me. And I'm pretty active there. I talk a lot about investing and poetry sometimes, of course.
Man, we got. It seems like you were at a Rob Ross retreat. You've been like a great facilitator all those retreats we did. It's another inspiring reason to maybe bring those back. Do you have any questions for me? Thank you for being here. It's 1:11.
This is lovely, and you're amazing at what you do. So awesome. Thank you for this opportunity.
Keep breaking normal, y'all. And if Craig's brother that works at Spotify is listening, tell us how to get, feed the algorithms. Feed the gods of Spotify so that more people can become part of this conversation and destroy their rationality, finding the extraordinary in the ordinary. I mean, like I could just list off about 30 one-liners you said today, but just give it a re-listen and then interpret nothing. Feel it.
Feel it.
Keep breaking normal, y'all. Thank you.